It's 10 years since the US-led invasion of Iraq and the end of Saddam Hussein. The images of war and suffering will stay with us for a lifetime. But the conflict also unleashed creativity on an unprecedented scale. And here in the UK, as part of events marking the anniversary of the conflict, a new festival is aiming to show how the war contributed to Iraq's art scene, as well as documenting how life has changed in the country in the last decade. With me is Hana Malala, an Iraqi artist, and Mona Chalabi, who is a photographer whose parents were born in Iraq and who has herself visited the country a number of times. Thank you both very much for being with me. Just firstly, your feelings 10 years on.
Because from this 10 years, I spent 4 years in Iraq, because I left in November 2006, when it's the death toll, it is 3,000 a month in the street. So, I spent 6 years here in London, but I in contact with my friend, but I think it is deeply changed everything. It is deeply, it's the culture of Iraq and life for the people. It is profoundly changed, as well the artwork. And really for me, it has changed all my artwork and all my technique and everything in my artwork.
How about you, Mona?
I wanted to look at some of the other aspects of change in Iraq, so aside from some of the statistics on violence, and look at things like migration, healthcare, employment and education to see how things have changed. And I think that what comes out of looking at a range of numbers like that is more of a mixed story. So there's been progress in some areas, there's been deterioration in others, and actually stagnation for some things just haven't changed at all.
Mona, let's take a look at one of your pieces, photographs by numbers. Let's have a look. Mona, when I first looked at this earlier, I was thinking, you know, back then, 10 years ago, statistics were being thrown at us all the time about what was happening in Iraq. But the things that stay with you, of course, are images.
Definitely. In 2003, the numbers that were being branded around were 45 minutes, the amount of nuclear weapons in the country, chemical weapons. And I think since then, images have played a far larger role. But I think that actually, either in isolation doesn't quite tell the full story. And it's really powerful to combine both. And using photographs with statistics means that you don't lose the human element of those numbers.
Hannah, perhaps we should look at your most iconic piece, which is actually one of the images that we've used behind us. But let's see if we can bring it up in full frame as well. There was that piece with the flag and the shoes that you just saw, and now we have an Iraqi quilt that was sent to you.
Yeah.
Are you political with this message, or is it more coming from somewhere else?
No, I said many times and before, I am not political artist, but there is political issue in my artwork as my background as an Iraqi. And because I live there for a long time, so all my career and all my my education and it is with the destruction.
So explain this piece of work, because we can see the shoes and the
this artwork, it is about American heritage flag, and there is the shoes, which is my shoes, and the shoes, it is about two incidents. One of journalist who threw a bush by shoes in 2008, and the other one when the Iraqi artist in 1993 she did Bush, the father, H.W. Bush, and she replaced his images in the floor, in the lobby of Rashid Hotel, and to enforce people to walk on it.
But you say, Hannah, that you're not political. This sounds quite political to me.
Because it is influenced me. Because it's my situation, and I spent all the time in Iraq. But I'm not political artist.
And yet, is it safe for you to go back?
No, of course, now it is more difficult for me. It is more dangerous because I did many exhibitions around the world in the USA, here many exhibitions, and there is political issue, and I did other flag, Iraqi flag with the shoes. And so it is difficult now.
Mona, one of the issues I know that has concerned you a lot of what's happening in Iraq is levels of literacy.
Yeah.
We have some pictures, I think, of people looking at books and, on the streets of Baghdad. Why did this capture your attention?
Well, I think it's quite interesting because for us, so often 2003 is taken as a benchmark, but actually literacy in Iraq had begun to change long before 2003. So in the 70s and 80s, Iraq was one of the best in the region in terms of its literacy rate. School enrolment was virtually 100% and literacy was over 90%, while in the region it struggled to get over 50%. But during the 80s, partly because of the economic sanctions that were placed on the country, and then later on the Iran-Iraq war, literacy began to fall. So it's actually a number that's been falling long before 2003.
OK, Mona, we're just going to keep looking, if we can, at some of the other images of your work. But can I just ask both of you, we've only got time for one more question. There is this big festival taking place, the Real Festival. How important right now do you feel it is to draw attention again to what is happening in Iraq 10 years on? Do you think it's slightly been marginalised in terms of our public perception and awareness?
Yeah, I think very important to this festival, Real Festival, and many events here. About 10 years in conflict in Iraq, and really good. And I did the exhibition in Chelsea about that, in Chelsea College of Art, and to remind people and to put attention about what happened. And there is in BBC many reports about that, and really give me some view about Baghdad now.
Briefly, Mona, do you feel the same way?
Yes, I think it's important, particularly from a British perspective, given the number of British people that were so moved in 2003 to speak up about the war.
Thank you both very much for joining us and for sharing your amazing images with us. I hope the festival goes well. Thank you.
Thank you.